Good news for Nigeria as World Economics, a global World Economic Analyst Group says Nigeria is out of recession and it is growing strongly. We look at the report and the efforts of the President Buhari government in getting the economy back on track. And the People's Democratic Party hits the Buhari government on the president's Easter message on meeting the expectations of Nigerians. The PDP says the Buhari government has performed very poorly. What are your own views? That's our focus tonight on the program. Many thanks for joining in, everyone. This is Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Seun Okinbaloye in Lagos. Some cheery news for you based on the Nigerian economy. A lot of people groaning and complaining when Nigeria slid into recession late last year. But some good news coming now from a global economic analyst group, the World Economics. And the report today is showing a very good sign of a recovery of the Nigerian economics. Today the group released a report on world economy, and the Nigerian report reveals that Nigerian economy is now out of recession and growing strongly. The report went further to state that market growth index is at highest level in over a year. The monthly sales pick up sharply in the month of April, and the rate of price inflation remains substantial but continues to moderate. The World Economics summarized its report by saying that and I quote now, overall conditions in Nigeria have improved further over the past month, and managers are expressing renewed optimism that the economy will continue to grow and regain strength after the recession. When Nigeria slid into recession last year with some of the major economic indices in perhaps the worst conditions in its entire over 50 years history. Let's get perspective to the report and what this means for Nigerians and the efforts that the government is putting to fix the Nigerian economy. Joining us is the Nigerian economist, Mr. Bismarck Rwani, joins us from Victoria Island in the heart of Nigeria's economic hub, Lagos. Thank you so much, Mr. Rwani, for joining us. Always a pleasure bringing you. You know, when things get naughty and we hardly find a way out in just making sense of these figures and economic issues, we bring you on the show. Let me start by asking you, what do you make of the report of the World Economics growth? It looks like a magic, isn't it, that Nigeria is now out of recession, considering the analysts' forecasts and permutation that it may take a longer time. But with today's report, what do you make of it?
Well, I think we're already out of a recession. Technically speaking, the moment you get to 0% or positive growth, then you're out of a recession. But is the growth strong enough to deal with your unemployment issues, to deal with your growth projections, to make you competitive, and to make your people feel happy and prosperous? That's the issue. But to say that you're out after 10 months of consecutive negative growth, you are out of it. We expected this to happen, and we always said Q4, early Q1, we are going to come out at 0 or 0.5. That is all right. But your population growth rate is at 3%. Your unemployed population is quite high. Therefore, we have to do more. But it is something that is worth commending that will come out of this, primarily because of two reasons. One, because our oil production is back up again because of the fact that the Niger Delta militants have stopped sabotaging our pipelines. Secondly, we have seen an improvement in power supply in March, as against in April we saw it come down again, but we've seen an improvement in power supply, and we've seen an improvement in the forex environment. There is foreign exchange availability and the foreign exchange rate. So when you add power supply, you add increased revenue by the government, and then, of course, the borrowing, and now you have a forex regime that is being supported aggressively by the central bank, then it's no wonder that we are beginning to see some light at the end of the tunnel. But it is good news for Nigeria, but we have to sustain it, and we have to make it totally irreversible. That's where we are.
Good news, and one may want to clap for the administration indeed, because no matter what divide you belong politically, The good thing is that we are Nigerians and we do look forward to the nation rising from the debris. But as it stands now, some of the technicalities that you're talking about, Mr. Iwani, for some of us who are, in terms of economics, we're not savvy, but we do want to know what impact this has made on the price of food on the tables of an average Nigerian. Take, for example, a man who comes back from work today, who has no job, or a man who has hardly been able to feed 3 square meals in the past few months. What does this mean, and what should such a person be looking forward to in the coming days?
Actually, there's been price resistance. What has happened is that manufacturers have gotten foreign exchange, traders have gotten foreign exchange, but they had carried heavy losses over the past 6 months. So what they are trying to do is to recoup some of these losses by increasing their margins. But sooner or later, for those who are dealing in perishable goods, you'll find that there's already a price war starting. For those who are dealing in non-perishables, the carrying cost of high interest will make them force them to bring down their prices eventually. But the time lag between when the foreign exchange rate actually appreciates and when they pass it through to the market is usually between 60 and 90 days. The current foreign exchange appreciation started middle of February. We are just day 60, about a week ago. And so we are going to be able to see the benefits early in May. So you will see some price reduction in May, and you see some further price reduction in June. And now this is planting season. So during the planting season, you actually have food scarcity and high prices. So for once in March, we saw food inflation actually come down a little. We are going to see this drop further as the planting season is over, and we are going to see, right now, we are seeing a glut in the tomato market. You've seen that happen. We've seen the bread, flour, at 10,500, but there's already a price war. We think that will come down to about 9,500. And sugar, there's some difficulty with sugar, but we have seen beans come down. We've seen tomatoes come down. We've seen cassava and garri come down. And therefore, we haven't seen it translate itself into gala, bread loaves, and all of that, but this is going to happen sooner or later. So the Nigerian is going to have that. But one thing you must note is that wages have not increased. So we are still, every time there's a depreciation of the currency, which we've had, every time there's an adjustment in the price of petrol, which we've had, anytime there's an adjustment in the power cost reflective tariff, which we have already suffered, it is tantamount to reducing people's income. Now, the government and the private sector will have to do something about increasing income, increasing productivity, and this is going to happen over time. This is going to be a slow, painful recovery, but the recovery has started already, so it's time to working to make sure it is sustainable.